All right, welcome back to another episode of the Pod Gods. My name is Jake LaTorrell. I'm the Media and Marketing Manager for Edge Home Finance.
Brady Hall and eXp Realty and the Tyler Miller team.
We got a special guest today, Dave Meyer, who's the owner of BizzyWeb.
Hey,
Let's go.
nice to meet you guys. Yeah.
I guess before we get into your origin story, tell us a little bit about BizzyWeb. What is it? When did you start?
No problem. So BizzyWeb is a growth marketing agency, and what we do for our B2B clients, manufacturing, business services, other folks like that, we help drive their leads through the traditional marketing stuff, SEO, pay-per-click, advertising, website design. But then we actually help our clients close those deals through CRM, customer relationship management software. We use a tool called HubSpot to help you automate all of the results so that it's like a choose your own adventure. You respond, you fill out a form, you file, or you go to a podcast and download it, or you attend an event, or you download a white paper, and then it becomes almost like a choose your own adventure to what are you most interested in? Do you want A or B? How else can we help you? So we're using AI and all those other things
to
help to connect up and to warm things up for our customers.
Okay, and you said you had 20 employees, 17 being contractors?
Yeah, 23 total.
Okay,
and,
23.
Yep, 17 are employees, and then the rest are contractors.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Have everybody full-time. Everybody's local-ish. I think our farthest employee is in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
So, we're all Midwest-based.
Midwest, right.
Yeah, so it's nice, and, this whole COVID thing was kind of a godsend for our office opportunities because we were absolutely bursting in the seams at our Champlin-based office.
Is that your only office?
Yep, just our one.
Right.
Just our one. But we have almost everybody virtual now. We still have the office. It still has a fantastic training facility for all of our team. We get together at least once a quarter, but more like once a month to do in-person trainings and stuff.
Yep.
But it's just easy because now we have anybody that wants to be in the office can, and anybody that doesn't isn't.
Yeah, I always felt, I guess I'm allowed to work from home unless I'm filming something for one of the guys here, but I like coming into the office.
Yeah.
It's like, I have a son at home and my fiance, but like just to have my own space and just get into that flow state and just the camaraderie with the guys.
Right.
Cool. All right. So should we start with
The origin story? You gotta.
Sure.
Where were you born?
Yeah.
Family.
Childhood trauma? No.
Oh man. Yeah. It'd be exciting.
No, but where were you born? Siblings? All that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure, of course. So I was born in an entrepreneurial household.
Okay.
So the fun part about growing up when and where and how I did is my dad had his own business. He was a door and window remodeling guy. So as I was growing up, I was dragged along on the hottest dang day of the year. We were digging fence posts, and on the coldest day of the year, we were working on a patio door in the freezing cold. And the thing that my dad always told me is like, see, this is why you get school, and you go all the way through, and you get some good learning in.
Where this was in Minnesota?
Yeah, right in Coon Rapids is where I grew up.
Nice.
So actually, as the crow flies, about 1.5 miles from where I live now.
Yeah,
that's
just
awesome.
On the other side of the Mississippi. So it's and he had that business the entire time, and so after I went to school at St. Thomas, met my wife there, we had our first kid, and we moved into a place like all the way on the other side of town to have our independence, right? But then as soon as we had the kid, we realized we were spending most of our time driving back and forth.
Yep.
And so we moved back close to home to Champlin. And then I was working for a number of places. At St. Thomas, I did public relations and print journalism as my majors.
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It is, and my dad didn't know it was a thing. He's like, you should do business or something.
Yeah.
And so I did have a business minor, and then I went to work for like U.S. Bank and Thomson Reuters and a few other places, did some PR firms. And at the end of my time with the bank, it became clear that I just needed to do something for myself as an entrepreneur because I had that in my blood, right?
Yeah.
And so I set up BizzyWeb in '99.
Oh,
so
wow.
next year it'll be 25 years.
Damn.
I've been doing it.
That's awesome.
So yeah. And so it's been a wild and crazy ride.
Yeah.
And we have just branched out and kind of exploded in all the directions that we wanted to go.
Right.
And the accolades have been there and the fun stuff. So Small Business of the Year from the Minneapolis Chamber, like
Nice.
5 years ago.
Wow.
I was Entrepreneur of the Year before that. So and all that stuff is just fun to hang out and pat yourself on the back on. But it doesn't mean you can stop or slow down.
Right.
And it's really all in service of the client and my employees. Right. So everything that I do is to feed 24 families.
Right.
Right.
Some pressure.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. What has been your best year, would you say?
Actually, this year, right
Really?
now,
Okay.
we're just absolutely crushing. And the COVID thing, when 2020 happened, we were on a steady growth track of, maybe 15% a year or so. And then 2020 hit with COVID, and we were dead flat. So I think we were like $80 total on the entire revenue of the company off that
man.
year. So that was rough. But then the year after that, we were 40% up.
Oh,
So it just exploded because every one of our clients, manufacturing businesses in particular, they do most of their biz dev, their business development, through trade shows and other in-person-y kind of things. Well, all that went away with COVID, and so we really had to double down on digital marketing. So BizzyWeb was there
Kind of a blessing.
help and take over the reins on that stuff. And it hasn't slowed down. And the idea of sales enablement and automation has really massively improved both our production and the ability to do things because the tool does a lot of this stuff automatically itself. And AI is shortening our time cycle
Right.
to get content built. Just go to GPT and say, okay, well, give me an outline on a blog post for these 4 things. And we have like a very stringent set of guidelines and rules, just ethically and legally you have to pay attention to with AI because it's a broad spectrum. I mean, it's just the wild, wild west right now and nobody knows where it's going to go.
yeah.
So that's a big part of what we do is just figuring out how does all of this stuff work the best in order to get the best result for our clients.
Let's go back to 99. How old were you?
Oh man. So 99, I would have been 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 25-year-old Dave, sick of working for other people. What was the first thing you did? Well, like, how did you conceptually, like, how did you think of BizzyWeb?
Right.
Did you see an area where it was like, hey, this needs to be fulfilled? Like, someone needs to do this for, like, where was your head at?
So it's kind of a weird story and a true internet age story.
Okay.
Because I got the name BizzyWeb by searching. I knew that I wanted to do something on the web for business. So busy web. The
That makes
domain
sense.
name was available and boom, booked it, no problem. So that was the big thing between how I got at least the name set up.
Right.
And then really from 99 until about 2008, it was just a hobby. And so I was working for the bank during much of that time for U.S. Bank, and they put me through my MBA in entrepreneurship at St.
Nice.
Thomas and paid the bill for that. So I stayed like 5 more years after that with them. And it was just a fantastic trial by fire and by experience because everything that I was doing at the bank and with my business, I was able to just kind of knock the training wheels off slowly.
Yeah.
And then once 2008 came along and the financial sector kind of imploded, it's like, maybe it's time that I go off on my own and do this full time. And so took all my stock options from the bank that funded BizzyWeb for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
And that's, as they say, history. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Is it scary?
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be any fun if it wasn't.
That's
Right?
true.
That's
so
the
true.
entrepreneurial mindset. Unless you're taking some sort of a risk, you're really not doing anything. And people ask me, well, what's your next step? It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm done with this business because I can't stand being bored.
Yeah.
I can't stand being still. So
Yep. Do you think you'll ever sell it? Or are you going to have some sort of equity in it? And
we know. I don't know yet.
Okay.
We if you're familiar with like traction and EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a book by Gino Wickman.
Okay.
And you'll probably, now that I mentioned it, you'll probably start hearing traction all over the place because it's one of those almost like business culty things.
Okay.
But the Midwest is huge for this book and this topic. But what you do inside of traction is you set up your business processes and you really pull together how you need to accomplish things. And it's just about hanging a framework around what you need to do. And so as we build this out, that's one of our annual goals was you do not only 1 year goals, but you do 3, 5, and 10.
Sure.
And our 10-year goal is now our 9-year goal because we said in 2034 or our 2032, we are going to transition the business out of Dave's ownership. So whether that's employee owned or if we find some sort of other investor or we
Investors or
merge
something.
with some other place. I'm having way too much fun to even really think about it seriously.
That's good, right?
But the time is moving, and our 10-year went to 9-year this year because we said that it's a real thing.
Yeah.
So you have to have something to move forward on.
So 2008.
Yeah.
What was the difference between, obviously you're probably more comfortable. You're working at the bank. There's something to fall back on.
Right.
What was the difference between going full-time and part-time at BizzyWeb?
Yeah.
What did your day look like compared to, working
Yeah, right.
full-time versus part-time, I guess?
Of course. So the part-time side of BizzyWeb before I went in all in on like 2008, like in September, right, was I would just do something on BizzyWeb once in a while when I was thinking about it, and I didn't feel too bad if I didn't do something.
Yeah.
I was servicing clients. I was building websites for customers, and that was really the first iteration of BizzyWeb was business websites. And then as I took it full time, then you have to really start thinking about business development. And so walking that journey and making sure that you're getting your calls in and that you're finding the right lists and you're doing the right research to get you the amount of money that you need to feed your family, right? Because you don't have any other fallback anymore. That has a real solid tendency of focusing your attention.
Yeah.
So that's like 50-50. I went from, like 25% working in BizzyWeb to 100% working in my other job to 50% business development, 100% working on BizzyWeb.
Yeah.
So it was just way busier as it went.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You have to refer to my questions here.
Yeah,
'cause,
sure.
So what were some of the struggles that you faced
Yes.
from going part-time to full-time? Obviously, it's a big change. So what were some of the things that you had to overcome during that time?
For a lot of people, it's usually figuring out how to work from home. But the last 6 years I was working at the bank, I was home-based anyway.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I'm kind of the I was working from home before it was cool, right? But that wasn't as big of a problem. Instead, it was more that, again, the business development side and self-promoting doesn't necessarily come naturally for everybody.
Yeah.
I was raised in an entrepreneurial household, so I knew that I had to have the hustle, but I had to figure out what to do. And so it was joining networking organizations. I did a good long stint at BNI, if you've heard of
Oh,
those.
yeah.
I started speaking at different business communities. New Business Minnesota was a regular publication, like a monthly magazine in Minnesota for years and years and years, and it died as a result of COVID, but fantastic organization. I was on the cover of New Business Minnesota like 7 times.
Okay.
So, whatever.
No flex,
It was,
jeez.
We'll
it was
clip that.
literally just, I was there and providing material and details, and part of the cover was you had to deliver a talk.
Okay.
And so that's really how I got started talking for BizzyWeb.
Like public speaking?
Yeah, public speaking and doing all that.
Okay.
And that kind of led into what's probably the funnest part of my career right now. I'm a speaker for Google and for HubSpot right now. And so as we were setting up, I was just in Nashville 2 days ago delivering a talk, a full day seminar on how to use Google to grow your business. And doing that kind of content and getting out in front of as many people as possible that can use my services without selling to them, instead helping them, has been tremendous. And as a result, I probably have grown about 80% of all of my business development has come from people that have heard me speak.
Wow.
or somebody in my organization now.
Wow. Have you always had that public speaking ability? Is it like a muscle you work?
It's definitely a muscle.
Okay.
You have to decide that you like it.
Yeah.
But like even in high school, I remember being in the debate team and that stuff, right? And it was always just a tremendous charge to get out in front of an audience and to do something. And I
Get that adrenaline.
Yeah,
For
like
sure.
doing something and being on stage. You know, a lot of people they'll or the old wives' tale is that, you know, you use 10% of your brain. Well, I feel like I'm using 100% of my brain when I'm on stage.
Yeah.
So it just focuses you and centers you, and there's nothing more fun than giving back in that particular capacity for me.
Yeah. What does your day look like these days?
Yeah. So
I mean, I'm sure every day out of the week is probably different, but
a little bit. Yeah.
I guess your typical day from start to finish. What time do you wake up?
Sure. Yeah.
All that stuff.
So I have flip-flopped on my best day a few times over the past 10 years.
Can relate for sure.
Yeah. So like I was a super early riser guy for a long time and got a lot of stuff done, especially when I was still working downtown for the bank. You know, get up, get into the office by 6, leave by like 3 to avoid all the traffic. But now I think I get up probably 7.
Okay.
And then, you know, you get your meditation in, center yourself out, do a little bit of exercise, you know, kind of get the blood rolling a little bit. Get to the office. I am lucky enough that my office is 2 miles away from my house.
Nice.
And so I like to bike back and forth when I can, when I don't have a meeting somewhere off-site or something. But, you know, it's going through this nature reserve helps to kind of, again, bring you up on the right side of, you know, feeling calm and like you're actually accomplishing something.
Yeah.
And then you try to just do something that you don't want to do or that you've been putting off first thing in the morning, because then you don't have to have it hovering over your head or crushing your spirit
when I get
a
a good workout in the morning and then not have to worry about it after I get off work.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no better feeling.
So
Absolutely.
nice.
But getting up is the hardest part.
It's so tough.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, so that's kind of my typical morning. And then, you know, we have a team meeting every morning with the leadership. And that's like a 15-minute touch base, anything that we need to know about or that we all need to work on together. And then it's usually half business development for me, doing calls, prospecting, working with new leads or working on closing out new contracts. And then the rest of the day is usually follow-ups and or generating content for our marketing, because we eat our own dog food.
Yeah.
And so we do a lot of blog posts, a lot of social media posts, a lot of thought leadership.
Okay.
And then the remainder, and almost every day I'm working on something around developing new content to share on stage.
Yeah.
So, and most of that right now is around AI.
Okay. It's not surprising.
Yeah, right.
AI is
Yeah.
taking over. I use it to generate clips.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
I know
super
so many
helpful.
real estate agents that use it every single day.
Oh yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. It saves me hours of editing.
Oh yeah.
It's like the grand writer's block killer. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just put it in. It's like, hey, give me an outline on something that I have been struggling with or that I want to do. And it's just like being able to brainstorm with a smart friend of yours.
It is.
And
yeah.
they'll kick you back something, and then you can actually use it.
Yeah.
I was just using it yesterday to talk about green photos. So green photos is like taking
Oh, I
photos.
saw Max post something like that.
Yeah, I posted it too. You liked his, but not mine.
I didn't see yours. bro.
Yeah.
Shadow ban from you. What the hell?
Sorry, Dave.
Yeah. Love it.
But so green photos is you take photos like now. So when you go to sell your house in January, your house looks better than it does in the winter. You still have the pictures from the wintertime, but
Right.
a lot of people want to show off their landscaping. So we take photos now. It's free. And I brought that to ChatGPT, and
Yeah.
it just had no clue what I was talking about. So I explained
Yeah.
it to it, and he's like, "Oh, thank you," and then gave me a perfect description of exactly
Right.
what to say. And I was like, "That was cool that I could
Yeah.
teach them something."
You taught AI.
What something
that what you're
was.
saying?
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
it brought it right back to me like perfectly
Yeah.
within 5 seconds.
It
And I was
understood
just
what you were
like,
explaining.
oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And I like went back to what I wrote and I was like, God, that's misspelled. Like
It's
it still figures it out.
It's like,
Yeah,
I must
yeah.
be talking to a toddler.
Yeah. This guy really is 21. He did drop out of college.
It's
That's
really
awesome,
fascinating
though.
how much it's come ahead. And the thing that I always tell friends when they're asking me about what all this AI thing is, all of this AI is the worst it'll ever be again. So if you think
it's
that
only
it sucks,
getting better.
it's only getting better, and it's learning from itself, and it's figuring out what a good response is and how things are working. There are some different and weird things with ChatGPT in particular. The data set that they're going off of on GPT-4 is like 2 years old. So as of September of 2021 is the data set that GPT is actually pulling from.
Yeah.
So it doesn't know a whole lot about self-awareness with AI because all of that exploded right after that.
Yeah.
And so you have to take that into account when you're talking to AI or when you're using
going.
AI proxies. Yeah. So there's so much in there on what you need to know, and being careful about how things are working and to notice the inherent risks inside of GPT and other AI technologies is incredibly important to know, because like if you've tried it a lot, and I've worked in this and played with it a lot for my audiences, and if like ChatGPT doesn't know something, it won't say, "Hey, I don't know." It'll just lie.
Yeah,
It's
I'll just
called
come up with
hallucination
something.
inside of AI, but it'll just be like, "Oh yes, you can do this thing." So if you ask it for a book review on a book that it doesn't know anything about, it'll just wing it based on the title. And so you can get in a lot of trouble, and college kids are getting into a lot of trouble with this because they're just going into GPT or some other tool. Bard is Google's tool, and that's not actually good content that they're getting, but it'll tell you with full confidence, this is what it is.
It's like new age Spark Notes kind of.
It's
Yeah,
like
it doesn't
if-
really know.
If I
they
pulled
don't
like
care.
our podcast title, I bet, like of some title we do for a podcast, and have it make a social media description, it's going to come up with something that we
Two
never
gay
even talked
hosts
about.
host.
Exactly.
Right?
I never even thought
So
about that.
I probably type in a paragraph before it gives me anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I want it to give
Yeah.
the right information. Like you're saying, if I just put the title, it'll make something up and it'll
Right.
sound fantastic,
Yeah.
but it's not right.
Right. Well, and that's where the whole prompt engineering thing comes in, because you can just say, GPT, tell me about X, or you can say, I am a marketing expert and I'm in the real estate field and I've been doing this for 35 years. My specialties are this, this, and this. Knowing who I am, write as me and tell me, and then use that question, and then it'll sharpen up the responses. And then you can come back to it, and it'll be wordy. And if you've played around with it a lot, you can see and hear just by looking at a GPT response. You can tell because it's very circular.
Yeah.
So if you say, tell me the benefits of commercial real estate, ChatGPT will answer and say, commercial real estate is a really good thing because it's important to know what commercial real estate is. And it goes back and it loops back on itself like 6-7 times, almost like a 7th grader that's trying to fill out the last page of its report.
Yeah.
And so if you go back, you can then say, shorten this article by 80%. And then it'll shorten it down to the
Cuts the
absolute
fat
salient
off it, so
points.
it's-
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it cuts the fat out, helps sharpen it up, or write it with a younger intent, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it'll do all of that.
I just used that for the social media post I made about Michigan.
Yeah.
That was from ChatGPT. And when I wrote it, it was so professional. I was like,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound like me at all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, make this sound like a younger professional.
Right.
And then it popped something out. I was like, that's like, if I post that, people are going to be like, that sounds like Brady.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's-
cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, Michigan, no cap. This is what's going on.
right? The boys were buzzing this week.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I feel like with AI though, I feel like there's already biases in it, like politically.
Definitely there is.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
It's part of the learning curve and part of where you need to be a good student and a good consumer of artificial intelligence technology.
Yeah.
Most of the programming and the content that's been delivered for consumption by AI was delivered by cis white males in their mid to or early to mid life, right? So from like mid 30s to mid 50s. And so you'll see a lot of that, and the tone is in there, the bias is in there, and they're just, it's not that it's racist or that it's bigoted or that it just doesn't know.
Yeah.
Because it's only been around the people that it's heard talk to its entire life.
It's so weird that like, I don't know. I always now I'm picturing like Chat GPT as like a person.
Right.
Instead of like, it's just like software, not software. What would you even? It's just AI. I don't know.
Right. I kind of view it like Doogie Howser, if you remember that from way back when. I think of ChatGPT like Doogie Howser.
Okay.
It's like this young kid that's incredibly brilliant. He's a doctor. He knows all this stuff. But he's just going off of what his experiences are. And he's only been surrounded by certain kinds of people.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point.
Oh, wow.
having the experience of other cultures or other languages or other points of view, you need to program that in. And you can explicitly tell it that, and then it'll go off of a different data set and it'll find something to bridge that in. But again, it's only going back to, and it's finding, like, it hoovers up books from different kinds of people, and then it categorizes who those people are and what they are. So you can tilt it a little bit, but again, you can only go so far to what it's actually read. You won't know particle physics if you've never done anything with particle physics.
Right.
What's your opinion? Do you think this should be taught in school and used
AI?
in school instead of kids just winging it?
There's zero chance that kids aren't using this in all of their reports right now. There's also
Why wouldn't they
zero
either?
chance that the tools that they're using to catch people from using it are accurate. So it's like, I have two kids, one's college age and one's about to go into college next year, and I'm showing them how to be a consumer of this kind of technology, but how to safeguard themselves from things like copyright, things like plagiarism, things like using something and passing it off as your own. You can't do that ethically in the education system. But as professionals and as we're building things, as we're building blog posts, all of my team are using iterative, like generative text to help get them off the starting line faster. And we're still importing our content and our knowledge and our expertise, but we're starting from, instead of starting the race at square one, we're starting 50 yards ahead.
Got it.
Where we used to be. So in the education system, you just have to figure it out. And I think educators are going to have to figure this out. I actually was speaking, I was on stage in Nashville 2 days ago, and right after the event, I was sitting down with another one of the speakers. He's a professor in Atlanta and teaches an English class.
Oh,
He's like, the first thing that we do is I go in and I have my students give me a report. I say, go to ChatGPT and have them write a report. And then we look at it together and say, well, this is circular logic. That doesn't make sense. That's just dumb. That's an outright fabrication. So now you understand the drawbacks of these tools. Here's how to use it ethically and as a aid instead of as the entire base of knowledge that you're delivering.
Well, I feel like I can always tell when a social media post is Chat GPT generated.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It feels soulless, but it works so well for social media because it picks up every little nuanced thing and like generate, like it's like good for the algorithm.
Good emojis.
Yeah,
like,
it's just like it's like cookie cutter perfect what you'd want to see in a post. But when you read it, it's like, this is dog shit.
Yeah, totally.
But like the posts that you do for our podcast are like perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think AI is like a net positive right now?
Totally.
Do you think it will be in the future?
I think as long as we're clear and careful about where we're letting it take us,
Yeah.
it's going to be fine, right? So what we have is a machine that is very easy to use and is learning from itself, but we have the responsibility as the owners, as the parents of this kind of technology, to set safe guidelines.
Yeah.
So that it's not going to do something or spiral off. It's a lot like the echo chambers and the bubbles in social media that we've got right now. When we started with AI, or when we started with social media, and when Facebook was just getting crazy, everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is going to help us to be less, racist, and we're all going to get along because we're all going to hear each other better." And what we didn't realize is that the algorithms were going to pull it right back and only give you what you wanted to hear in the first place.
Yeah.
And so that tends to make people more of whatever they already were.
Yeah.
And biologically, people are geared to pay more attention to what they're afraid of.
Oh, yeah.
Than
It's like the news.
What's positive.
Yeah.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so
Oh, that's so good.
that's what it's going to do unless it's taught otherwise. And so we need to keep being cognizant of that. We need to keep thinking about that and say, okay, well, this tool, you need to also take into account other perspectives as you're writing and responding. And so that's going to help. I have students and new people in the marketing industry asking me all the time, am I going to even have a job when, in 10 years' time? It's like the people that are going to have jobs in marketing and really in most knowledge industries are the ones that have learned to use AI.
Yep.
Instead of the ones that have just resisted and saying, okay, well, I'm just going to work twice as hard. Well,
Yeah.
I have bad news for you. You've got somebody that can use, what was it, Avatar? They had those big jumpsuits where the dude could punch super hard and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And there was like a spaceship on you. Like, you're not going to win in a fist fight against somebody that's got like this big old armored suit.
Transformer.
You are Iron Man.
Iron
right?
Man. Yeah.
So we're going to be needing to figure out how to operate those suits ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between somebody that's going to still be earning money and like in 10 years time and where you're going to be struggling. If you're not moving forward, if you're not using these tools, and if you're not figuring it out, that's when you're going to have problems.
With marketing, so when I went to college, I was going for marketing, and I decided to drop out and get into real estate. What's your opinion with all this AI technology going, if someone's going to school for a marketing degree, let's say, is it still worth it to go to school, or is it worth it to go to like AI, learn from that, learn from your experiences with that? What do you think is more beneficial at this time?
It really depends on the goals of the person that's trying to get the education, right? So my kids are going to college because they understand, or I understand being a college graduate, that it's not as much about the official curriculum as it is about being exposed to things that you otherwise wouldn't and learning how to synthesize those things and think for yourself. So, yes, you should still probably go to school of some sort. There are tools, like Google has an entire free university that you can apply for and learn how to do social media management or project management or coding for free online, and it's a straight up college curriculum. You don't have to pay anything for that. Is it worth, like St. Thomas right now, I think is almost $70,000 a year? A year? That was more than my entire college career 30 years ago. So, it's an entirely different thing.
Yeah.
So I would still want to be, I would still want education. I think the education, like industrial complex as a whole, has a lot of self-reflection to do and figure out how are they going to really pivot along with this knowledge change and the fact that you don't need to teach people as much how to do regression analysis or how to do algebra or how to write concise and well bibliographed reports as you need to simply show them how to use the tools available to them to get what they need done. So I sort of answered that. But
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the schooling system is so old based. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at a classroom, it's basically the same as it was in the 60s, 70s.
like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Except now there's a computer lab.
And there's usually, I don't even know what it's called, whiteboard? That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Went from chalkboard to whiteboard.
Yeah, so
And now there's the electronic whiteboards,
Yeah.
which will load up. and
Is there
stuff,
really?
but yeah.
Wow.
So
So I feel like there needs to be a change in, like you said, kind of teaching how to get your outcomes, because
Right.
we can Google anything,
Yep.
but are all those things that come in, are they going to be trustworthy? Are they going to be accurate? Is
Right.
AI, what AI is giving back, is that right? Is that going to be something you can use for your business or
Yeah.
for, your report you're writing or whatever
Right.
it might be?
And it's going to get increasingly difficult to figure out what's real and what's AI. So what's been truly researched versus what's just spouted off by some random AI that's just trying to please its master, right?
Yeah.
And so the healthy dose of skepticism and the bullshit detector is going to be more and more important for people to understand and to know. So you still need to know things in order to understand if you're being lied to or not.
I feel like back in the day too, it was like people worked long hours, worked hard, and I feel like as newer generations come along, they're working smarter, not harder. Their time management with the
Right.
technology has become just, way better.
Better?
Yeah.
Going back to your business though, I know we've
Yeah.
kind of
Kind of went on a little
the AI is just.
tangent
fun
I mean,
tangents,
yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
interesting though. If you could change one thing about your business, what would it be?
So one of the things that we've got going on in BizzyWeb is everything that we sell and that we do requires vast amounts of human input. So I sign a new client, we do search engine optimization for them, help that company to rank better on Google. We do advertising, we do content, we build blog posts or social media posts or white papers or any of the stuff that goes into that choose your own adventure, right?
Yeah.
All of that requires people to do that work in order to do it well. Like we could already do like 10% of that with AI, but it does require people. So one of the things that I'm working on is actually coming up with a curriculum of training docs, materials, helpful things for my audience that I can just record and resell. And then I build it once and then I sell it multiple times, right? So that just generates more revenue, lets me pay my people more, and it means that for every new client, I don't have to hire a new person. Because right now, labor is a little tough to find. I mean, great people are hard to find.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I'm looking at shoring up and doing differently is finding new ways to resell or to make more revenue off of minimal input.
Yeah.
So that IP, intellectual property that I can resell is something that I'm filling out right now.
Kind of a random question,
Yeah.
but have you written a book?
Not
That
yet.
was really random.
Not
Well, I
yet.
was just thinking about it. I was like, so many people. I mean, you're an entrepreneur. I'm
Right.
like, a lot of them write books or
Yeah.
want to write books.
That's been on my bucket list for a long time, Jake.
What would it be about?
So I think it's probably going to be around the idea of demand generation in the new economy.
Okay.
And figuring out how to use these tools that are available for you to still make a human connection with
Yeah.
someone. Because it's easy to just spam people. And
Right.
It's easy to do
Go on
the
LinkedIn.
cheap stuff. Yeah. And so how to make actual real connection while still taking advantage of the technology. I think that's one of the spots that is underserved.
Okay.
And one of the things that we really try to do for our customers. So I think that could be a really fun one.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned, you said 2032,
Yeah.
you're going to get out of the, where do you see BizzyWeb in the next 10 years?
I think we are going to probably stay around the same size.
Okay.
Probably around 25,
That's
30
what I was
employees.
curious about.
I think revenue will continue to scale up as we learn to do more with the same amount of people and as some of that AI and that technology helps ramp us up. And as we come out with those tools, like licensed things like plugins or software, software as a service or the SaaS economy, if I can license something and keep providing helpful input, that's an entirely different model of revenue. I mean, that's the Microsoft revenue or Adobe kind of level things.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be helpful. So I would guess maybe 10x what we're doing revenue-wise.
Wow.
Which will be fine for us. Not massive. We're certainly not going to take on Meta or Facebook or Apple or any of that stuff with that, but it's enough to take care of all of the families that I've got working for me. And that's what I want.
Is it a nationwide company right now? Are you helping different companies all over the globe or just the U.S.?
It's technically international. We've had customers all over the world, but our main focus is, I'd say probably 60% of our customers are in the Midwest.
Okay.
Probably 40% are in Minnesota. But that's just because they know us. People know us, and that's where I'm on stage most.
Mm-hmm.
So we are national in scope. What's really interesting right now is as a Midwest-based company, we don't have the same expenses that a lot of the coastal towns do. So like I'll go toe to toe with any New York or Chicago or LA-based agency, and we'll deliver every bit as much quality and output at probably half the price.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So we're picking up a ton of customers on the coasts because we can just compete where they can.
Yeah.
You say customers, like what's your normal customer? Like
So,
who's coming to you guys usually?
Like a business that serves other businesses, so a B2B.
Okay. Oh, gotcha.
Right? And probably more often than not, they are delivering some sort of service or tangible good to their customers. So it's manufacturing is a big part of our client base. A lot of like accounting-based firms or hiring companies or other places like that. Just if there's a good that delivers from one company to another, that's where we focus. And it's all high-touch, high-trust businesses.
What do you mean by that?
So if I buy, or like here's a great example with one of our customers. They offer hiring services.
Okay.
And so you go in and they're going to recommend that exact right person for you, and they're going to take 20% of that person's salary over that year. And so that's like a decision to, am I going to spend 60 grand with this company? Instead of just an e-commerce store like Amazon.com,
right.
If I order something and it sucks, I'm out $6.
Yeah.
If I work with a company that I'm spending $60,000 on or $600,000 on and it sucks, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
So you really need to be able to trust. And a lot of what we do, actually most of what BizzyWeb does for our customers is help generate that trust via marketing messaging. So, thoughtful, on-point things that serve the needs of the customers and identify what their pain points are. If you're familiar with Simon Sinek, that whole start with the why stuff.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Going in. Yeah, and so instead of saying, we do X or we've been in business for 15 years, which nobody cares about, we solve your problem. And so that's where we go.
I made a video not with Simon, but I put music behind one of his seminars, and it was it was good.
It was really good.
Yeah, he's good. He's talking about millennials.
Yeah.
I forgot I haven't seen it in a while, but
yeah,
something like it's basically like no shit, millennials are miserable. Like they, okay, so hold on, let me get my. So we talked about Chat GPT. Going back to AI, sorry, but what else do you use? Don't give away the secret sauce, but what like how many are there? Is there different variations of Chat GPT?
There are dozens of really good tools.
Got it.
So part of what I do is researching and trying out some of these things. So ChatGPT is probably the one that's made the biggest splash.
Sure.
Google has set out and built Bard. B-A-R-D.
Okay.
.google.com is a tool very similar to GPT in its output and what it does. There's what is it? So Pi AI, like pi.ai, is a conversational tool where it's much more like it has pretty text on the front, and it's like a interactive experience.
Keep going. Yeah.
Adobe has a ton of generative visual AI where you can literally go in, and if we shot a picture of this studio, we could have Adobe's tools just say, okay, well, make the backgrounds or make it look like they're on a beach somewhere. And it'll actually just fill in the beach behind us.
Wow.
And take care of it all. So there's that stuff. The tool that I use most actually is called HubSpot. And HubSpot is a CRM, kind of like if you've heard of Salesforce, similar tools to that, but they have an immense amount of AI learning that they're putting into every one of their tools. So a CRM, a customer relationship database, is basically your contact list for a salesperson, right? Yeah. And so I can go to HubSpot's AI tools and say, give me a list of all of my customers that I haven't talked to in the past 3 months that are interested in these 4 things.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it'll give me a list of those 15 people, and then you can tell it, okay, well, set me a task to get a hold of 3 of these people a day, and then send them a follow-up after I reach out with them or reach out to them via an email with this white paper that I created. And
you
it'll
just
do
have
all
to,
that automatically.
You just have to type that in, like almost like Chat GPT saying, what the fuck?
And here's the best part. Here's the better part. I don't even have to type it in. I can just hit the little microphone and I can say, hey, HubSpot, do this thing for me. And it'll build it out.
Wow.
I use
crazy.
my CRM. I use is Chime. If you've ever heard of it.
Yep.
And they are starting to have some AI stuff into it.
Everybody's plugging it in.
You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not, you're falling behind, right?
Yep.
So it's super nice to have. It's easy. You can just go to your contacts and be like, "Wow, I need to follow up with this guy," and you can put in a little prompt. They'll make it look pretty and sound good, and you send it off, and then go sell another house, and then you're on to the next day.
It's
right?
really kind of crazy. So those are the big tools that I recommend to check out and to use. So ChatGPT, of course, Bard. There's a really great tool that has all kinds of templates and that interfaces with some of these GPT-related tools, and that's called Jounce, Jounce.
Where do they come up
like
with these
bounce
names?
with a J?
Yeah.
I don't know. They just had to think of some name that hadn't been used before, right? They probably used AI to figure it out. True. But yeah, there's probably a list of a dozen that I could bring up and that I have that I'm doing research for, as I'm doing a few AI related talks over the next couple of weeks. And so I'm very much in the middle of building my list.
I got a 800 Excel spreadsheet list of AI stuff. I should just forward it. You probably already have it.
Please do. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of winding down, but what advice would you give to someone starting their own business?
So if you're starting your own business, the thing that you need to know and be laser focused on is how you solve the problem for your customer.
Okay.
So inherent in that is that you need to understand who your best customer is. So there's an AI related tool that I love. It's called makemypersona.com. And if you just enter in, okay, here's my best customer, and here's where they go to school, here's where they work, here's what they do, and here's the problem that I solve for them, it'll build a bio for that person. And then you put that up next to your desk whenever you're writing a blog post or a social media post or coming up with a new product or a new promotion for that product, and just make sure that it's always for that person. And people get caught up in all of the to-dos that they need to work in, and they either focus too much on trying to do all of the stuff that goes into building their business. It was like, I need to have 75 blog posts before I'm ever going to start my business.
Right.
And then they procrastinate their business from ever really getting off the ground. So you just need to focus on who you're serving and figure out how you're solving their problems. And everything else kind of takes care of itself after that.
Kind of reminds me of a quote that I heard a few months ago, start before you're ready.
Yeah.
What do you think about that quote?
Yeah.
Stupid or?
If you don't actually start moving, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And you can think about it and you can procrastinate about it and you can worry about it all you want. But the people that are actually going to be successful are the ones that get moving and iterate. Right?
Yeah, I remember when I first started doing YouTube, this was like 10 years ago, and I started on my now ex-girlfriend's laptop and the camera on there and the shitty audio from the old MacBook.
Right.
And then as I went along over the years, I got a better camera, better microphone, and I'd get comments though from people saying like, "Oh, I want to start a YouTube channel, but I don't have a good camera." Or
I'm saving up to 10 grand for my studio equipment, man.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you don't need, if the content's good, just start. All right, so last question we like to ask everyone. Do you want to ask it?
Nope.
Okay, all right.
Always F it up.
How do you want to be remembered when you're gone?
Oh,
it's heavy.
That is heavy.
Yeah.
I want to be remembered as someone that has helped as many people as I possibly could to do something amazing with their lives.
Boom.
It's
So simple.
answer.
Yeah, that's like,
Yeah.
I feel like people go on and on paragraphs talking about it, but you basically summed it up and you
nailed it.
AI chat GPT'd it.
I have it in the back of my, I have an implant,
Yeah,
so it
yeah.
actually put it in there for me.
That's awesome.
How
Dave,
long before that happens?
Yeah.
Not long, and there's
Neuralink,
already
right?
there's already feedback. Yeah, so you can do some of that, but I think if you guys are following Apple, they launched or announced their Vision Pro, their AI big goggle thing. I think that's going to probably change things. When we're talking to our grandkids, we're going to tell them, we used to actually had to touch something and look at this weird flat screen in order to interact with the world. We couldn't just put on our glasses, or we couldn't just rotate our wrist and have it show up, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference between now and then.
Well, I feel like even like VR, back in the day, I was like, VR is going to be crazy. It hasn't really caught on. What is
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
The technology and the resolution just isn't there yet.
Maybe.
And
Okay.
It's actually more of a battery problem than anything else, because even these fantastic screens that you can put on your head, they require so much horsepower, so much processing power.
Yeah.
That even that new Apple thing, it's this screen that's honestly kind of big and fat, but you need a big ass battery pack that you attach to your waist, like on a belt, in order to power the thing, because it's so intense to be able to compute all that.
I didn't even think about that.
Do you think that's good to have that much intensity, like right in our eyes, like
stimulation,
right on us?
I don't know
dopamine.
yet, man. You're right.
Yeah.
So the funny thing about technology is the first thing that people do is fear it. The next thing they do is kind of begrudgingly accept it, and then the third thing they do is adopt it.
Yeah.
And so we're in the fear it part of AI, but everybody used to be intensely afraid of computers, of phones, right? And, people still complain about, we've got these screens and everybody's getting these weird humps in their necks and stuff.
Yeah.
We haven't truly adapted to all of that yet. So I think we're going to be fine as a species, and having screens, I don't think we're ever going to have, and talk to me in 50 years and tell me I'm wrong, but we're not going to be wearing weird face masks for the rest of our lives. It's just the technology is somehow going to get better, where we're just going to be able to interact with the world like Minority Report and pull things in.
I was going to mention
right?
Minority Report 2 seconds ago. That's so weird.
So I think that's where it's probably going. We just don't have that technology yet.
I have to ask, do you think we're in a simulation? What are the odds?
I don't think yet.
Okay.
And
God.
if they are, it's kind of like the Matrix, right? If I see a cat walk by twice, then I know we're in trouble.
Yeah.
But I think right now we're probably not in a simulation, and I believe that we're in one of the most interesting and exciting times that humanity has ever known.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that you could do would be to be fearful of it and decide not to adapt. The best thing, and really the only thing you can do, is look at it and say, okay, it's coming. How can I take advantage of it?
Yeah.
Do you
feel
think-
like go ahead.
Do you think there's other species out there that are way ahead of us?
Aliens?
Maybe. Nice. I mean, who knows? NASA just said that, they just said, well, we can't say that there's not aliens.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people are saying, that means there's aliens.
Right.
But just mathematically, in the trillions of stars, in the trillions of galaxies, in the trillions of worlds, there's something out there. Are we ever going to see them? I doubt it.
Yeah.
So
The universe is so big.
Yeah.
It's just, it's massive. I mean, who's to say that, and we're going to get really deep here for a second.
Go.
Who's to say that, this droplet of sweat that we've got inside of us, like on the side of our heads, doesn't have an entire galaxy with like 70 billion different people inside of it right there.
Yeah.
That's some like the Grinch.
That's the Grinch, exactly like the Grinch. That's
right.
actually based off of real, like, what's that called?
Conspiracy.
Nano technology. Yeah. So, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Snowflake
so we get really deep, man.
Yeah.
And now that marijuana is soon to be fully legal, we can have really deep
me on a Saturday
conversations
night.
on that. Right? No, it's
listening to some Alan Watts, like, whew.
yeah. The thing that you need to keep cultivating is your curiosity and your BS detector, I think.
Yeah.
You need to be aware and open and skeptical about where it's going.
Perfect. I think
that's a great way to end it.
I was just going to say.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you
awesome.
so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
Where can they get a hold of you if they want anything?
Yes. So connect up with me at BizzyWeb.com, BizzyWeb. I'm Busy Dave almost everywhere, BizzyY, Dave. And, just hook up with us, connect up. I'm on stage all over, certainly the state, and all over the country on our YouTube channel. And that's youtube.com/BizzyWeb.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys.
BizzyWeb
Appreciate
Dave.
it. Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next week. Bye.